Well, hello, I'm Ken and I am in Hove or Brighton today from a different location, and it seems to work, but still, God is still the same God, and we're doing Psalm 30, which is a very intriguing psalm, actually. I must say that the funny thing was, I was in a church, Brockham Church, on 2 days ago with a friend of mine who loves photographing churches. So I was wandering around and I found one of the kind of bits of information there. And I looked up Psalm 30 in there kind of thing. And I found that they'd highlighted the last two verses, which is very interesting because I thought the last two verses were the best. So there we go. So I'm going to read Psalm 30. I will exalt you, O God, for you lifted me out of the depths, and you did not let my enemies gloat over me. O Lord, my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me. O Lord, you brought me up out of the grave. You spared me from going down into the pit. Sing to the Lord, you saints. Praise his holy name, for his anger lasts only for a moment, but his favour lasts a lifetime. Weeping may remain for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. When I felt secured, I said, I will never be shaken. O Lord, then you favoured me. You made my mountain stand firm, but you hid your face. I was dismayed. For you, O Lord, I called. To the Lord I cried for mercy. What gain is there in my destruction, in my going down to the pit? Will the dust praise you? Will it proclaim your faithfulness? Hear, O Lord, and be merciful to me. O Lord, my God, the last two verses. You turned my wailing to dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing to you and not be silent. O Lord, my God, I will give you thanks forever. Now, it's an interesting psalm. To me, I don't know whether a passage comes over the same way, but I had to immediately think of David. He's praising God from every side. Now, we've got to realise that David was an unknown person. When Samuel went to anoint a king, future king, they tried all the brothers, 7 brothers, I can't remember, 6 brothers, and they said, oh, the other one anymore? Oh yeah, there's the guy. He's kind of the shepherd. He's just going out with the sheep. You can't want him. And you go back and you think, well, why did that young son actually come to be king and be the person who God said, I favour very highly? Young son, what he was doing out with the sheep. What did he see? He saw the beauty of the heavens. He saw the trees and the bushes, and something, I would say, reminded him of what Romans 1:20, it says, when, you've got no excuse, guys, because actually when you see creation, you just want to ask for more. And I think this young man with his guitar was sitting there watching and enjoying creation, and God stirred in his heart because of what it was. He saw the stars. He saw the wonder of God as he's looked after his sheep, and he had this musical talent, and he had his guitar and he started playing things, and even began then to kind of sing psalms. And I think that is the background. Isn't that interesting, that here is someone who was no one and God made him someone? Very, very interesting. And I think that's often the case with us, that we really think we're no one, but God actually has made us someone. Well, he tells us, of course, that we are his children, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. That's all of us. None of us is excluded. I remember in one church I went to, I was talking about the feast of heaven or something at the end. I can't remember what it's called. The wedding breakfast of the Son or something. And I said, well, we'll all be there. And this guy said, well, he said, I might be there, but I'll be right at the back, right at the back, because I don't count. And I think about absolute rubbish. Now, I want to just focus on this, because what he's doing here in this psalm, he's actually, in a sense, he's talking about himself and God. Most of the time, he's drawing us to God. And in a sense, he is. But here, he's talking to God. And it's a personal conversation. If you see it, he talks about I and me 16 times and you 10 times. He's concentrating on the fact that there's the two of them. And I think this is very interesting. We're an inclusive society. We're a church of a body of people, all working together. But we have to realize that there is this dynamic relationship with God that's absolutely personal. The relationship that is God and me, and we can talk together and work together. And the other, of course, interesting thing is that as a father, a lot of us are fathers or mothers, for instance, as well. Each of our children we deal with differently. Although there are certain rules we have, because of their character, we deal with them differently. And this is how God deals with us. Now, we've got to be careful with this, because sometimes we can say, well, God's God and he'll deal with me anyway, but he'll deal with different people in different ways, because you're a person he has chosen, and you're a person who he's chosen and he loves deeply, and he deals with you because he's given you characteristics and he's given you things that are realistic, but for you only, because of you and him. And there is this special relationship. And David was talking at this particular time, I think, of the fact that he had a sense of God. And this was a place where he was talking to God all the time. Now, there's just one testimony I want to give here, and that sets it out, I think, that when I came back, or just before I came back from New Zealand 18 months ago, I got a blood in the urine problem. They keep telling me, yeah, it's no problem at all. So I came home. The funny thing was that I had it in New Zealand. I caught the plane. I was praying about how it would work. No problem on the 30 hours in the plane. But the problem is, directly you come home, you have to carry things. You've got to carry cases. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. So it continued. And I prayed. And I prayed. And I prayed. But I couldn't do the mowing. I couldn't do anything in the garden. And I had all this stuff. So I kept praying. And in the end, I was saying, look, God, look, can't you see this? Why aren't you doing this? Because it's a simple thing to deal with. You know that, and I know that. I've done everything I need to do. Why aren't you? I've got lots of things to do. I really ought to be doing this and doing that. And, my argument was, for goodness sake, God, I just can't wasting my time here. And he said to me, you're doing things. I said, yes, I'm doing things. I want to get on with it. He said, that's exactly the problem that you have. Look, what I want to do is to spend time with you, and I want you to spend time with me, so that there's just the two of us. I don't want you rushing off doing all this stuff. I can be more valuable talking to you and you talking to me. And that actually, I found the voice of God kind of talking to me in this way. And it was incredible that was the relationship we had somehow. Suddenly there was an absolute depth of relationship. There was my Father saying, yeah, you just got to get your life right. You don't have to keep doing these things, because you've got to slow down and wait for me, and I will speak to you and you will speak to me. And he left me with a bizarre, and I think I've told a couple of people this, a bizarre kind of passage as a kind of verse specifically for me. And it was from a message, and I think it was somewhere about Psalm 61. I can't even remember what that was now, but it was, sounds ridiculous, but this is my verse at the moment. And it says, "Now I stroll at leisure with God through the sunlit paths of life." And I have to come back to that when I'm stressed and I'm kind of praying and I'm doing things. I say, no, let me, there's this relationship with you, Lord. And I want to kind of have this peace. I want to be in this place where I can talk to you and you talk to me. And, it isn't a physical talk, but you know that in your mind and your heart, he's speaking to you. And that was something that I think it was incredibly valuable to me as just dealing with my relationship with God. So that's it, guys. That's it. Okay.